Hey everyone, this is Frank Honus, and I want to say thank you for checking out PureLifePodcast.com. You've come to the section in the website where I talk a little bit about my story. I want to share with you my story of from sex addiction to sexual recovery. I was addicted to pornography for 13 years of my life. Basically, I discovered a videotape when I was around 13, 14 years of age. Discovered a videotape underneath the sofa, popped that videotape into the VCR, and discovered for my very first time was exposed to hardcore pornography. And thus started and began a 13-year journey through sexual addiction. I had no idea how deep the addiction would go. I had no idea how bound I would become. But as the addiction spanned from my early adolescence years into middle school and high school, all throughout college, and even into 4 years of ministry as a youth pastor, I was addicted to pornography, and had no idea how deep this addiction would become in my life. But as I remember back now, being in my 5th year of recovery now, I remember how shallow I felt. I remember how guilty I felt. I remember how empty I felt. And using pornography to try to medicate these feelings of loneliness and insecurity and fear. Um, I felt that feeling of control in those moments, but it left me empty every single time. And what I did not realize was that pornography actually rewired my brain, rewired my brain so that I could not experience intimacy, so that I could not understand truly how to be sensitive and to treat the opposite sex. But pornography has an effect on our mind of rewiring the brain. And so I thank God today that it was a process for me of finding community. I began to find recovery around 4 years ago as I began to see a therapist, a counselor for these addiction issues. So I began some one-on-one counseling. I found a men's support group that challenged me to open up and to share my story. I began to share my story, and I found that as soon as I opened my mouth and let my story come out and the things that I struggle with, I began to find that freedom. So it was through a number of methods, a number of ways that I began to find healing and recovery in my life. But first and foremost, my recovery has been a process, and I'm very much on a journey and growing every single day. But it has been through accountability, it has been through brotherhood, in learning to talk and continue to talk to other guys in my life. It's been through some very, systematic changes, filters, and blocking and things like that. But most of all, most importantly, it began with a real transformation and change in the heart and a decision on my part that I wanted the very best of what God had for me in life. I wanted to be whole. I wanted to be a man of substance, a man of integrity, and I didn't want to hide any longer. And so it began with a choice. It began with a decision to step forward, to step out of the dark places into the light. And that's the decision that it takes for all of us, men and women. If we want to find sexual purity and sexual integrity, we must come to a place of brokenness, a place of decision where we no longer, no matter what our brains are desiring, our hearts are think it's what our hearts thinks it desires, we have to get real with ourselves and realize that we are hurting. We are hurting ourselves. And so that's my story from sexual addiction into sexual recovery. It's been a process every single day of growing and learning to become a man of sexual integrity. And I thank God that He's walking with me. Again, I want to welcome you and thank you for checking out this website, purelifepodcast.com. I pray that it will be a resource to you. I pray that it will be a benefit to you, that you can use this website as a resource for helping you uh, grow with sexual integrity, grow to become and have sexual integrity, sexual purity in your life. I pray that the podcast, this weekly podcast, is a blessing to you, and the topics that I talk about and share are things that are able to challenge you, help you to grow, and become that man, that woman of purity that God wants you to be, that I want you to be, that I want to become for my life as I continue to pursue purity. So I pray that the website will be a benefit to you. I would love your feedback. If there are things that you'd like to see on purelifepodcast.com, please just send me an email. Hit me up on Twitter or Facebook. But you can find all kinds of social links on the website to check out. To be able to contact me. So thank you again so much for checking out the website. I hope that my story is a benefit to you, for you just to understand and know that purity, that freedom, that true wholeness is possible, and that this is an issue that is not widely talked about in our culture. It's also not widely talked about within the church, especially. And it's my desire, and the mission of the Pure Life podcast is to help individuals find sexual integrity through Jesus Christ. But also a secondary mission would be for this message to go out within the church, and to really allow the churches in our area, in our community, in this country, in this world, know that we don't have to hide any longer. That we don't have to just hide in the shadows and be bound. That it's okay to talk about sexual brokenness. It's okay to talk about sexual addiction. But even more than that, we want to provide solutions, and we want to provide help and support for those of you who are struggling with sexual addiction. Please know that purity is possible. And thank you again so much for checking out this video. I hope you will enjoy your time checking out purelifepodcast.com. God bless.